At the center of a heated legal and political battle stands Kilmar Abrego Garcia, a young man from El Salvador whose life has become a lightning rod for controversy and debate. Born and raised in a small town, Kilmar's early years were marked by hardship and hope, as he dreamed of a better future in the United States. His case has become a national flashpoint, drawing attention from activists, politicians, and the media alike. The story of Kilmar Abrego Garcia is now discussed in living rooms and newsrooms across the country. His journey began with immigration challenges, facing a complex and often unforgiving system. But everything changed after a controversial deportation in March 2025, an act that officials later admitted was a violation of a standing court order, sparking outrage and confusion. This error set off a dramatic chain of events. His forced return to the U.S. under extraordinary circumstances, the filing of new criminal charges, and a relentless media firestorm that thrust his name into the national spotlight. The Trump administration accuses him of human smuggling and claims he's linked to the notorious MS-13 gang. Allegations that Kilmer and his legal team fiercely deny, insisting there is no credible evidence to support these claims. Supporters see him as a symbol of due process under threat, rallying for his rights and calling for a fair trial. Critics, meanwhile, view him as a test case for the strength of immigration enforcement and border security. His case now stands at the intersection of immigration law, criminal justice, and public perception, raising difficult questions about fairness, accountability, and the limits of government power. Every new twist draws in judges, government officials, and a deeply divided public, with each development amplified and dissected by social media and 24-hour news cycles. As of December 29, 2025, Abrego Garcia is more than just a defendant. He's become a symbol of the contentious debate over justice, immigration, and what it means to be treated fairly in America. His story is a microcosm of the nation's ongoing struggle with fairness, security, and the immense power of public opinion to shape outcomes in the courtroom and beyond. The stakes in his case reach far beyond one man's fate, touching on the very soul of America's legal and moral identity. The latest controversy didn't unfold in a courtroom or through official statements, but instead erupted on TikTok, the world's fastest-growing social media platform. While awaiting trial, Abrego Garcia posted a lighthearted, seemingly harmless video, an act that might go unnoticed for most people, but for someone at the center of a national legal firestorm, it was explosive. The video quickly went viral, drawing thousands of views and sparking heated debate online. The response from the Department of Homeland Security was immediate and intense. Officials, especially Assistant Secretary Tricia McLaughlin, condemned the post, arguing that while her agency was bound by a gag order, Abrego Garcia could speak freely to millions. McLaughlin's public statement painted a picture of a justice system turned upside down, law enforcement silenced, while the accused broadcasted their side to the world, unfiltered and unchecked. What began as a trivial social media post was suddenly transformed into a symbol of the case's deeper struggles over justice, free speech, and the power of public image in the digital age. For Abrego Garcia, TikTok became more than just a platform for entertainment. It was a strategic tool to influence public perception and rally support. For DHS, it was a provocation that threatened to undermine the integrity of the legal process. The clash between these two sides highlighted a new reality. Social media now shapes not only public opinion but also the very narratives that play out in courtrooms and newsrooms alike. What's routine for most, posting a video or sharing a thought, becomes headline news when the stakes are this high and the nation is watching every move. The digital battlefield is now just as fierce, unpredictable, and consequential as the courtroom itself, with every post and comment scrutinized for meaning and intent. In this case, every post is political, every video a statement, and every moment online has the power to sway the outcome of a national controversy. Central to the uproar is a gag order, Judge Paula Shinnis's directive restricting public comment by government officials about Abrego Garcia's case. The order, requested by his legal team, aimed to protect his right to a fair trial from prejudicial statements by high-ranking officials. DHS saw it as a major setback, arguing it prevented them from defending their actions and informing the public. The gag order was later narrowed, but its core purpose remained: stop public relations campaigns that could taint the jury pool. For DHS, it felt like an imbalance, law enforcement silenced, the defendant visible online. The order sparked debate about fairness, free speech, and the limits of government communication in high-profile cases. It's a legal tool with real-world consequences, fueling tensions on both sides. The fight over who gets to speak is now part of the battle for justice. In March 2025, Abrego Garcia was deported to El Salvador, despite a court order barring his removal. The government called it an administrative error, but his lawyers saw it as deliberate defiance. Outcry forced officials to bring him back, only for him to be immediately re-arrested on old human smuggling charges. The timing raised suspicions. Why file charges only after his forced return? His defense claims retaliation for his legal victories. The government insists it's just law enforcement. This sequence, wrongful deportation, forced return, sudden charges, deepened distrust and polarized the case. Judge Zinnes is now scrutinizing the government's motives. The history of missteps and accusations sets the stage for a legal showdown. The stakes, not just one man's freedom, but the integrity of the system itself. The heart of the case is the federal human smuggling charge, based on a 2022 traffic stop. DHS calls it a straightforward prosecution. The defense calls it retaliation. Judge Zinnes recently canceled the scheduled trial, instead ordering a hearing to probe whether the charges were vindictive. The defense argues the timing, charges filed only after his return, proves their point. If the judge finds the prosecution was retaliatory, the case could be dismissed entirely. This move puts the government on the defensive, forced to justify not just the evidence, but their motives. The outcome could set a precedent for how courts handle claims of prosecutorial abuse. The trial's fate now hinges on the government's intent, not just the facts. For DHS and the Trump administration, Abrego Garcia is a lawbreaker and a threat to public safety. They cite alleged MS-13 ties and human smuggling as justification for aggressive prosecution. Officials argue that prosecuting smuggling is essential to border security and deterring crime. They reject claims of retaliation, insisting the charges are based on solid evidence and proper procedure. The gag order and judicial rulings, in their view, hinder law enforcement and public safety. DHS sees the legal challenges as tactics to obstruct justice and let a dangerous individual evade accountability. For them, this is about upholding the law, not personal vendetta. The case is a test of the government's ability to enforce immigration and criminal laws under intense scrutiny. Abrego Garcia's legal team paints a different picture, a man targeted for challenging his deportation. They argue the government's actions, wrongful deportation, delayed charges, are punishment, not justice. The defense fiercely disputes the MS-13 allegations, calling them smear tactics to sway public opinion. The gag order, they say, was needed to stop a trial by media. Their central claim, the prosecution is vindictive, meant to keep him detained for winning in court. They're fighting not just for their client, but for the principle that prosecution shouldn't be used as revenge. Judge Zinnes' willingness to investigate the government's motives is a major win for the defense. For them, this case is about protecting due process and the integrity of the legal system. Judge Paula Shinnis's rulings have defined the case's direction. Her gag order limited government commentary, prioritizing a fair trial over public debate. She extended a restraining order preventing Abrego Garcia's redetention, demanding strict legal procedure. Most dramatically, she canceled the smuggling trial to investigate claims of vindictive prosecution. These decisions put the government's motives under the microscope and shifted the burden onto prosecutors. Supporters see her as a guardian of due process. Critics call her an activist judge. Her actions have made the government's conduct, not just the defendants, the central issue. The case now tests the limits of executive power and judicial oversight. Judge Zinnes' courtroom is where the future of this legal battle will be decided. The Abrego Garcia case is more than a legal fight. It's a test of justice, immigration, and free speech in the digital age. It stands at the intersection of some of the most pressing issues facing our society today, challenging the boundaries of law and the reach of government power. The gag order spotlights the tension between fair trials and government transparency. It raises questions about how much the public should know and when, especially in cases that attract national attention and spark heated debate. The wrongful deportation and vindictive prosecution claims raise alarms about the power of federal agencies. They highlight the potential for abuse when oversight is lacking, and remind us that the stakes are often highest for the most vulnerable. The TikTok episode shows how social media can shape or distort public perception and legal outcomes. In an era where information spreads instantly, a single post can influence millions for better or worse, and even sway the direction of a trial. The outcome of the upcoming hearing could set a precedent for how courts handle claims of retaliatory prosecution. Future cases may look to this decision as a guide, affecting not just individuals, but the entire legal landscape. The case forces us to ask, who controls the narrative, and how much does it matter? In a world of 24/7 news cycles and viral content, the answer is more important than ever. Legal battles now play out as much online as in courtrooms. The court of public opinion can be as influential as the judge's gavel, blurring the lines between justice and spectacle. The next chapter, Judge Sinha's ruling, will determine if the charges stand or fall. Her decision will echo beyond this case, sending a message about the limits of government authority and the protection of individual rights. The implications reach far beyond one man, touching on the core values of fairness, accountability, and the rule of law. Communities across the country are watching, knowing that the outcome could affect countless lives. What happens here could shape the future of justice in a divided digital America. As we await the verdict, we're reminded that the pursuit of justice is ongoing, and its outcome will help define who we are as a nation.